everyone. I'd like to thank the voters and the candidates and the media in the person of Robert Smith who are here today for the 2026 Candidate Forum for the Select Board. Thanks for coming out in this snowy weather, this little moment between two snowstorms. We've got a window here. I'm Rick Cowan, current member of the Select Board, and John Dunbar and I are the two candidates whose terms do not expire on March 3rd. We also have with us the current chair of the Select Board, Peter Golick, who is completing 17 years on the board. So thank you, Peter. Deb Wright is unable to attend, but has sent a written statement of her position. Let me bring it and sit there. Of her answers to the two questions, and before I introduce our moderator, Library Director Ian Graham, I wanted to point out another resource for voters, and this is a great piece that Robert Smith wrote for the Commons, and he interviewed all 8 candidates.
The ones I could get.
The ones he could get.
There were a couple there.
So this is a great piece for those of you who want more resource. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to the remarkable Ian Graham, our moderator.
All right. So, well, thank you for coming, and thank you for.
Closer to the mic.
Sure.
You just have to speak up.
Yeah, hard to hear you. Hold on.
Are they on?
They're for the broadcast. For in the room, you have to use your voice. This is not amplification.
Better.
Oh.
How's that? Does that work better? Look at that. There you go. So, and which just goes to show the library is just a place of miracles. We're just in, a moment we can go from a huge problem to problem solved just like that. So, and speaking of miraculous library stuff, I just want to make one announcement that's related to the town and the library, which is that this summer we have a Smithsonian exhibition that's going to be in this room starting around June 10th. And we'll be here for about 6 weeks. And so every chance I get to speak to people in public, I mention this thing because I think it's such a big deal. And I think people are going to be really excited when it happens and everything. So that is my one advertisement.
What about the library budget edition?
Sure. Okay. Vote for the library budget too. So perfect. All right, great. And I am up here, but I'm not really taking your questions to me. But I will be at town meeting next Saturday, and so I'm happy to answer any questions about the library or the budget there. But today, we're here to hear from candidates for Select Board. So I'm happy to be able to moderate this. Just going to give you a gist of how this is going to work. We have a couple questions that everyone's been given in advance. I'm going to give all of you a chance to answer those, and it's going to be 3 minutes for each question that you have. And I will read Deb Wright's answers, once everyone else has had a chance to answer the questions up here. And then I don't have any of my own questions at all. So I know already some of you have brought questions. So how that's going to work, it's really one of two ways. You can give them to me on paper, or you can stand up or whatever and read them. I will, I'll restate them. And you can make sure I restated them correctly. And then everyone will have a chance again to answer those questions. So the questions are for everybody. The questions through me go to everybody. Everybody has an option to answer any of them, not obligated to. But as we've described it, it's not a debate. It's a forum and a chance for people to speak to the voters. And so that's how this is all going to work. Part of the benefit of being a librarian is I took several classes on how to make people be quiet. And so if I need to use those skills, I'm not afraid to do it. Rick already introduced you to the bell, so I'm not going to ring it again. But I also don't want, it's not like 3 minutes and then the trap door goes. Like I'll try to signal people that they're about a time and then maybe ring the bell once if I need to. But that's generally how we're going to play this. Are there any questions going into it? All right, perfect. So, and I just wanted to I wanted also to point out that Peter's not running, but also Elijah's not running. And so I wanted everyone to celebrate the fact that we have two people. So for Elijah as well as Peter. And then I also just, there's something that's so, I don't know, feels so good about people who are trying to take part in the community, seeking the support of their neighbors and other townspeople and stuff. So I think that before we start, grilling everybody, we should just acknowledge these people who have already gone to the links to identify themselves as candidates for select board. I think I have a timer, so I'm going to go with that. So anyway, so let's get started. Again, no other questions. You can interrupt me at any time, but just please don't interrupt anyone else. Anytime it's like my turn again, if you have any points to make or anything that you need clarified, let me know. And I don't, yeah.
Will it get point at which we learn who's running for which positions?
Sure. I mean, I could tell you right now.
Or we could announce it.
You could announce it. It's really, there's two people running for the 3-year position and the rest are running for the 2 1-year positions. And so, and maybe that's a good time for everybody just to take a moment to introduce themselves and say what they're running for quickly, and then we'll get into the questions. Fair enough? You want to start, Amy?
Sure. I'm Amy Howlett. I'm running as one of 2 people for the 3-year select board position.
Charlie Jarris, I'm running for the 1-year select board position.
Bonnie Doris, I'm running for the 1-year select board position.
Delilah Hall, I'm also running for the 1-year select board position.
William Crowther, I'm running for the 3-year position. I also represent the Rockingham volunteer firefighters.
Could we know where all you folks have come from and whether you're licensed transplants?
Sure.
So
We could address that with the Dobbs.
yeah, why don't we? Sure, we'll wrap that up into. All right. Okay. So all right. Let's start with the first question, which is, what experience? And my inclination, in case anyone disagrees, is just to go in order. Everybody okay with that? Saying you're going to go first, no matter what. So, what experience and abilities would you bring to the select board?
So Amy Howlett from Saxton's River, where I've lived for the last 10 years. I grew up in Bennington. Previous to Saxton's River, I lived in Grafton for 25 years. So I am not native born to Bellows Falls, but I have a lot of Vermont experience. I have served on a number of boards. I seem to be drawn to that kind of activity. It seems to me it's a good way to make decisions and to come together and hash out what the various points of view are. So at the moment, I'm serving on the Saxton's River trustees. When Louise Loring stepped down, I took on the role of chair for that board. And you know what that's like. You mostly keep order, make sure people stick to the point, and in between meetings, you do a lot of running around to make sure you have the information you need when the board meets again. I also serve on the Bellows Falls Rotary Board. I'm the clerk on that board. That has been an enormously useful position for me. It means that I'm talking to a variety of people like the Gavatskis, Bill Stevens, Marty Gallagher, Ginger Driscoll, and there's a Scott Pickup. There's a level of information about the community that otherwise I think might be denied to me. I have served on the Parks Place Board, which was a real education. I came in and volunteered for that board when Barbara Turnus was the director of Parks Place, and stayed through a number of directors, leaving as president year before last. Abilities, I'll let you be the judge of that. I would say I'm a good listener. I spent a career working with public librarians and directing public libraries. And when you're face-to-face with the public, you have to listen carefully. And if you're a librarian, you're trying to decide what the right thing to do is, how to get people the information they need. Both of those libraries both of the libraries I worked in were in Vermont, and my state job was working out of Dummerston as the regional librarian. I think that's about it. I don't know how close I am to 3 minutes, but that's fine.
Pretty close.
What was the question?
The question is, what experience and abilities would you bring to the select board?
To answer the gentleman's question up and back, or the lady's question, I'm not sure which. I live at 21 Westminster Terrace now, which is in Bellows Falls. I have a farm where I did live up in Rockingham, in the historical part of Rockingham, up at a Rockingham meeting house. My niece and nephew they had a baby, so they're living there now. And so I've come down to Bellows Falls, which has been a great thing because I've lived up on the farm for 20 years, and all of a sudden I come back to Bellows Falls, and it's changed dramatically in the sense of, walking the streets, so forth and so on, meeting all the new people, so forth and so on. Well, I've been here for 40 plus years. I found Bellows Falls because I was living in Wardsboro. I don't know if anybody knows what Wardsboro is, a small little town, and I was looking for something to do, and I found Bellows Falls. There's a whole lot to do in Bellows Falls. And because when I came through Bellows Falls and I came down Rockingham Street and down through the square, I said, wow, look at this village. Right on the Connecticut River, you got the Coal River, you got Williams River, you got Saxons River all flowing into. What a wonderful place. I didn't do investigation of the town itself. I went by, wow, look at what it looked like. And then at that point, I was going to buy some properties and be a landlord. And I ended up doing that. I should have done my homework first, but I didn't. But in the 40 years I've been here, I've seen amazing things happen in this community. It's had its ups and downs. In things that I've been involved in, the first thing I got involved was the Chamber of Commerce. And I actually became the president of the Chamber of Commerce back 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. And that was a good experience for anybody that comes to town, join the Chamber of Commerce and learn what's going on. And then I got involved with the local access TV station, Fact TV, and I started a program called Travels with Charlie. So wherever I went, I had a camera, and I did a program on not just Bellows Falls or the surrounding town, but wherever I went. I went to Paris, did a show on Paris, and came back and showed it on the local access station. And I was on the school board. In fact, they made me, as soon as the chair. Now that was an experience, without a doubt. The Rockingham School Board, K through 8. And then I've been involved with the chamber again now. In fact, the Flannel Festival, I don't know if you've heard of that, but that happens up at my farm every year. And I knew the chamber needed funding. So I figured, well, why don't we do a festival up there? And it's been going on for about 5 years. And that has been a great thing for the Chamber of Commerce. And I know a lot of organizations get involved in that also by having little tents up there, so forth and so on.
Charlie, that's about 3 minutes. So if you want.
Oh, that's it. Okay, thank you very much. That's it.
See the power of the librarian? Bonnie, do you want me to restate, or are you all set?
No, I'm Bonnie North. I've been on the select board for 4 years. This would be my 5th year if I was elected. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I spent almost 2 decades on Cape Cod in Provincetown, and I came to Bellows Falls in 2010, so that's 16 years ago. Like Charlie, when I first drove into town, I was blown away. I thought, what a delightful, delightful little town. And since I've been here in Vermont, let's see, what all have I done? Well, I was the treasurer of the Walpole Artisans Cooperative for several years, treasurer of the River Valley Cooperative for several years. That's the one that's downtown here. River Artisans, I'm sorry. President of the Sandglass Theater in Putney for about 6 years. treasurer of the Bellows Falls Historical Society for about 7 or 8 years now. I'm on the Wyndham Regional, I was on the Rockingham Planning Commission for 4 years, I think, 3 years as chair. I've been on the Wyndham Regional Commission now for about 7 or 8 years. The years go together. When you get to be my age, I can't, wow, 7 or 8. I'm currently vice chair of the executive board of the Wyndham Regional Commission and chair of the Brownfields Committee there. That's the committee that helps to allocate brownfield cleanup money all around the region. I am a member of the Rotary, and I am a retired journalist and publisher and graphic designer.
All right. Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Delilah Hall, running, for those of you who walked in late, the one-year seat on the select board. I am currently right now, well, I reside in the village of Bellows Falls. I've been in Bellows Falls full-time since 2022, property owner in town since 2019. I was working as the zoning administrator for the city of South Burlington when I first came to Vermont, but my husband, Mark Condon, who is here, his family is from Vermont. I think, as many people do, you meet somebody from Vermont and then they bring you back to Vermont with them. So that's what happened with us and how I ended up here. I love this place. I've been on the Planning Commission since 2023. I've been the chair since for a little under a year now. I am a planner by training. I worked in New York City government for 15 plus years, obviously with the city of South Burlington for 4. I currently work for a nationally based nonprofit, that is based in Heartland, just up 91. And we focus on rural economic development, specifically rural tech-based economic development with 42 communities across the United States that are classed as rural by the U.S. Census. So I have a real vested interest in making rural places work.
My name is William Crowther. I'm here not as just a member of the Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department, which still exists, mind you, but I have seen a lot of fraud, waste, and abuse in this town that makes me want to vomit. That train station is a travesty, and it has been a failure right from the very start. It should have never been considered. I can promise you, you vote for me, you vote for David Barrett and Lawrence White, that train station will be done, 100%. It's finished. If you vote for us, we will reinstate the Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department. We will strike through the over $600,000 line item budget item that they put through when they said they were going to replace us for consolidation for efficiency. Well, how is that efficiency? Please explain it. If anybody's got an answer to that, please tell me, because we did it for free. They're all paid. They want to give $80,000 to Sean McGinnis as fire chief. $80,000. Now ask yourselves honestly, each and every one of you, how much money do you got to give to the town for this kind of stuff? I mean, I know everybody here probably wants to do good by the town. I don't doubt that. But we cannot afford these decisions that are continually being made by the select board. You know, I wanted to believe in them. I mean, when I first ran, I only got about 50 votes. I was taking care of my sick father. I managed him for 7.5 years with kidney failure, heart failure, and dementia. Took care of him for a long time. And it wasn't for the Rockingham Volunteers, I'd have been in real trouble. You talk about a dedicated bunch of people who really serve their community. It was us. And I joined them after being inspired by them. I went back to emergency work after leaving it back in the early 90s. I was a young man when I did it. Now I'm back. Well, now I'm not. Retired. Well, vote for me and I'll take this retired right off. I'll go back. We will put some order to this budget. We will get things in order. We can do it efficiently. We can do it barely. We can still keep our community moving forward, but we don't need waste and we don't need the train station. And there are other things going on. There's sexual harassment allegations going around that are credible. There's missing money allegations that are credible. There's also the missing documents revolving the Rockingham volunteers. That's suspicious. Something's going on here, folks. And if you want to keep going on with the same old ways, the way we've been doing it, you can vote for some of these folks. If you want change, if you want lower taxes, try me, try Barrett, try White. Now, since they didn't come, I'm not going to further participate in this. I just wanted to greet you, make my statements. They're not here. I suspect they didn't come because they thought this would be a hostile audience, and I do see hostile faces in here. Not all, but some. I recognize them. So I've said what I had to say. I'll leave a telephone number. Anybody wants to talk to me and ask more questions, I'd be happy to answer you. Thank you very much for your time. I'm gonna leave my number with you.
Sure, that sounds great.
Have a direct conversation with me.
I will say you were exactly 3 minutes.
I used to serve at a city council up the sides of Bradford.
Do you want to write it down? Yeah. All right. Oh, no. Go ahead. That's fine. We got it. We got all after. No. You're also.
Yeah, we're just spending a lot of days. Wasn't sure what.
Yeah.
Can we go to okay?
I appreciate you coming.
He's doing something.
All right. So here, bring it on there if you don't mind. Okay.
From one you comic legends.
No, I'm not going to give you my phone number. I'm sorry, it's a personal phone.
You can call mine if you want. It's everywhere. 802-591-3418.
Just need the last one.
Let's see, how do I see it?
Yeah.
So, okay.
This is 407.
Oh, for God's sake.
You just want to write it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah, really.
Amy, do you just want to write your number on a piece of paper?
He's trying to send.
You know, it's like all of us. We don't want to remember our numbers.
Or just tell him the one he is. He's trying to.
Oh, the one you just called? Hold on.
But Ian doesn't want to get.
407.
At the library.
Oh,
Oh, for God's sake.
I told you. All right.
Oh, I know. Or believe me, I'm a four-round guy. Plan to do that. Why don't you just bring his paper and just give it to him and look for it?
We're just waiting. I just said, well, you have 1 more minute. You'll beat this number. We have a little bit of extra time, but there's not a routine.
Can I ask where we can
Should be a 289.
I can get any back from
You know, 289.
All right, we're going to move on. So, are you ready to go? Yep. All right. Thanks for your patience, everybody. I am going to read Deb Wright's responses, which I'm pretty sure is going to be less than 3 minutes, but I'll adjust my speed if I need to. And then we'll move on to the next question. Deb had submitted these to us yesterday, I believe. And so what experiences and abilities would you bring to Select Board? I do my homework and honor my oaths for my community in every instance. My municipal experience is extensive. Bellows Falls Village Trustee Board as both president and trustee, Rockingham Planning Commission as both planning chair and commissioner, along with many appointments to committees and subcommittees since 2011. As a 20-plus year business owner in the utility construction industry in Rockingham, My business expertise provides background in finance, attracting candidates, negotiating, and road safety unmatched by the other candidates. In addition, I am a Rockingham Justice of the Peace, a member of Rockingham's Thermal Energy Network, an active voting member of both VLCT's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee and the Vermont Opioid Settlement Committee.
Could you slow down a little bit?
Sure. So I'm trying to get that 3-minute thing here. I listen to every citizen in Rockingham and its villages to understand their concerns, allowing me to formulate clearly what next steps are to provide a stronger, safer future for our residents. I also provide direction to citizens for next steps to address their concerns. Above all else, my love for Rockingham and its villages. In addition to the points mentioned above, I possess more years of experience, honed by time, have a better understanding of the challenges we face, and the vision to find solutions to these challenges, all while reducing the burden on our taxpayers by eliminating waste and redundancies. If your home needed improvements, would you simply go to your bank and ask for more money, or would you first determine what frugalities and course corrections could be made to achieve your goals and then create a path to accomplishing them with the least resources needed? I do feel the current board is out of touch with its voters. Thus far, a list of accomplishments. While serving on the village board, I have moved the needle many times, from the fire department's early transformation from a union entity, which ironically paved the way to its current municipal structure, the conceptualization of the Firemen's Memorial Park as a planning grant brick and mortar project, to the push for a mechanism to create a forward-thinking, biologically sound wastewater alternative to sludge hauling with the sludge drying system. If this was not limited in scope and time, I would include a few of my future improvement ideas for the town. And I do want to point out that all of the candidates were given questions in advance, and so there was no advantage to being able to submit in writing. And I know that Deb had wanted to be here and couldn't change for our change that we had to make because of the storms. So anyway, yes.
Could, and Deb Wright is running for which position?
One of the one-year positions.
So I'll just say it again. The two people running for the 3-year position, Will Crowther and me. And everybody else, it's going to be that ballot question where you choose 2 out of the list.
Right. So, and then number 5, 4 plus piece of paper. So on to the next question. And then since you all do have questions, and I don't expect any further kind of disruptions or anything, I think we'll be able to get through this and then get to all of your questions with plenty of time to move it along. So the next question, and if it's okay with you guys, again, we'll start with you, Amy, and just move our way down. What issues most deserve the select board's attention in the coming year?
That's a great question. When Rob asked that question for the Commons article, I went immediately to my own feelings of helplessness when I read the news every day. It's really hard to know what we can do at a national level and at a state level, but it's pretty clear that we can make changes at a local level. I saw that there was going to be a real challenge going forward because we were losing veteran select board members, Peter Golick and Elijah Zimmer. And particularly Peter's years of experience with close examination to the board and real focus on keeping the discussion centered and vivid to the question in front of the select board. The other piece for me was losing Scott Pickup to Springfield. I was sorry to see him go, and I am pretty sure we're going to be breaking in a new town manager who, may know quite a bit about Vermont, but comes new to Rockingham. And I think in a lot of ways, this is a challenging town. It's not super big, so we don't have a lot of money to pay big salaries to attract top-notch, but it's big enough. We've got 3 boards that operate in this town, 2 that work closely with the town manager, Bellows Falls and Rockingham. So I know that a classic answer would be taxes, and with the reappraisal and the way everybody's taxes went up, I'm sure everybody in this room is thinking that's a big one. For a lot of us, healthcare, knowing that people in Rockingham, many of them do not have transportation to take their medical needs to Springfield or Charlestown or wherever else they can find medical service. That is a real issue. And that's not one that the Select Board has a lot of impact on, but both the Rockingham Select Board and the Saxton's River trustees gave ARPA money to do a boiler at urgent care. So we all are vested in trying to bring medical services back. And that was a real funny one. Who would have guessed that we could make that happen? But that federal money came through, and we were able to push that one. So taxes, healthcare, and the other one for me is housing. I know too many people who are really stuck looking for an inexpensive, well, not inexpensive, but a reasonable rental or home in Rockingham. I know too many stories about people whose children have to go across the border and find a place in New Hampshire. When I've helped out on the volunteer activities, cleaning up particularly the square, the gardens around, I hear this story over and over again. I got off the train or I got off the bus in Rockingham. I stayed with a friend for 3 days, and I decided I wanted to move here. And I couldn't find a place to live in Rockingham, so I'm living in Putney, Walpole, Hinsdale, wherever. So those would be the big three for me that I'd be keeping an eye on, taxes, healthcare, and housing. But I know the Select Board already has a bunch of initiatives, so I think the best I can do is to get really well informed. I sat in on that's three? Okay. Get informed and participate in a discussion.
Charlie, do you want me to reread it?
Yeah.
All right, you got it. What issues most deserve the Select Board's attention in the coming year?
Well, I haven't been on a board that, the town board of trustees or the select board for quite some time, but I have been going through the town report, which, by the way, everybody should get one of these. It's very informative, extremely informative. You can get it at the town's clerk office or right here at the library before you leave if you don't have one. I've always looked at this town as a small fishbowl and the people that live in it, because we're like 5,000, probably less than 5,000 now, that live in the town of Rockingham. But we do have the bordering towns, Westminster, even Walpole, Grafton, that come here, at least weekly, many of these people. And I'd like to look at this as the Greater Falls area instead of just Rockingham, not where the budget is concerned. I understand that, we develop our own budget and they have their own stuff too. But with this, like when you think about the schools, okay, now that's a union school. So you have Grafton, Westminster, kids going there, so forth and so on. But as I look at this town report, I have a lot of questions myself as a candidate. I have many questions that I've looked at it. I don't have the answers, but I hopefully will have the answers if elected, and I'll see where we stand. You mentioned housing. I've been in the housing businesses in this community for 40 years. I understand the problem, and I understand the economics of being able to afford an apartment in this community. When I first came here, an apartment was $400 to $500 for a 2 to 3 bedroom. Today, that same apartment, not that I get that much because I don't need to, because I don't have debt on them. Anywhere from a 2-bedroom, $1,200 to $1,500. That's a problem, but that's a problem nationwide. And I agree, but we can look at our own little problem, and we need growth, obviously. We need growth in housing, obviously. But how can the Select Board be instrumental in that? I have some ideas, and hopefully I can, if elected, I can bring those ideas forward. That's all I'd have to say.
Well, there are a lot of issues facing us. I've been dealing with big issues ever since I got on the board years ago. The train station still needs to be completed. The meeting house budget is kind of held up federal money is evaporating, and probably that's going to get worse before it gets better. Being on the regional, we think a lot about those kinds of things, especially on the executive board, how funding is going to work in our region in the next few years, and it doesn't look good. I think the biggest thing that the select board needs to really think about is costs. We need to get the cost of things down a little bit. We need to really give the taxpayers a break. There are a lot of wonderful, wonderful, well-intentioned projects underfoot, digitizing every tombstone in our 5 cemeteries, the meeting house restoration, lots of things that people want to see done. Want to see Route 121 fixed. There's so many things that we want, that we all want. But I think right now, with this next year, we need to really think about giving our taxpayers a break. I think that needs to be the #1 priority for next year. Thanks.
So the issue that motivated me to step forward and put my hat in the process was when I did learn that Scott Pickup was moving on to Springfield. I felt that the opportunity to work with a new municipal manager and be part of that process would be very important. I thought Scott did a lot of good things. I think there's still a lot of good things that need to be done to improve how town hall functions for everyone. I agree that the town report is a very good document. It could be a better document, and I would like to be part of the process to help recommend improvements. And speaking to that, and part of the question that I don't think I answered for the first question was, what abilities would I bring? In all the years that I had worked in municipal government, is I do like to listen to what people say. I like to listen to a variety of voices. I like to bring those voices into the conversation and help them be a part of crafting the solutions. So that was a real driver to how I work with people. I do think taxes and affordability are very important issues these days. It's critical that people be able to live and work where they grew up. We're lucky that we're able to do that. We want others to be able to do that. I also think that there needs to be some effort dedicated to getting more participation into these processes. I'm glad to see every seat here filled, but I think we could have more. I think we could, there are more people in this town who I would love to see get more involved and take part and have their voices included in this process. And I don't have the answers for that yet, but I think that working with others to, generate ideas about how to do that would be part of what I would be focusing on. To the issue of the train station and other economic development efforts that are underway in this town, I want to see those through. I want to see them come to fruition. I want to make sure that they're supported in such a way that they're not just, a nice thing to say, but that they're economic drivers that keep Rockingham going and moving forward and not falling by the wayside. That's it.
That was exactly 3 minutes. All right, so I'm going to read Deb's answers, then we'll move into the next section where you can all pose questions to the. So, what issues most deserve the Select Board's attention in the coming year? Property taxes. The current board is out of touch with the entire community and listens only to a small siloed area of its population. It is self-aggrandizing to consider only what the board wants without consideration of the other taxes raised impacting our residents, education, state villages, etc. The broader scope should always be considered as well as future projections. Housing, as it is defined by the state, this issue is not a fully thought out one, as there are no job or transportation components considered in balance. Without these, it will fail, causing severe disruption for the existing residents. This must be corrected. We cannot and must not build more housing for the unknown while displacing our current neighbors. Safety. Policing will continue to be a concern to the outlying pocketed communities beyond the Bellows Falls Police Department. And while I say this, many residents have expressed their growing concerns about the area within Bellows Falls as it pertains to our homeless population, vandalism, the lack of attention to some basic community policing. I say this knowing many of them are afraid to come forward, but wish more could and should be done. Let me reiterate, the greater rural Rockingham residents have no regular safety. As to the new Rockingham Municipal Fire Departments, there are currently many concerns about how this will work going forward, and complaints from rural Rockingham residents about higher taxes to support this is already being voiced. Fair treatment of all citizens in Rockingham, as the current complement of select board members continues to lay groundwork for new residents or special groups. It is ignoring the people who live here, work hard, pay their property taxes annually to support the projects voted in each year, and reasonably expect to see well-maintained streets, sidewalks, maintained public access buildings for citizens' enjoyment. Alternative energies to create a safety net. These alternatives are not being considered by Rockingham. All solar and wind considerations have been dismissed as not essential in past.
Can you read slower, please?
Yeah, sorry about that. All solar and wind considerations have been dismissed as not essential in past, current, and future
That's not
projects.
true.
Only the thermal energy network is talking and planning, but not seriously considered by the current members of the select board, despite the fact that thermal energy was utilized in the 80s here in this village. While Vermont's clean energy goal has a target date of 2035, Rockingham seems not to care. The solar fields permitted are for passive solar, reducing electricity bills, but will not serve Rockingham in the event of another cataclysmic event. A capital investment in future efficiencies will ensure all residents have a safe future. Rockingham needs a strong, forward-looking board member. Please provide me with the opportunity to demonstrate this for all residents at the polls on March 3rd. Sorry. All right, so that's the sort of preset, menu for this, and so I did pretty carefully enforce the 3-minute rule. You guys actually didn't make me, so that was really helpful. But I leave it up to you folks. We're have about 45 minutes left. And now it's your turn to ask questions. Those questions will go through me, and all of the candidates who are here will have the opportunity to answer them. And my question to you is, should that still be 3 minutes? Should it be 5 minutes? Should it be 2 minutes? Does anyone want to make any suggestions for an alteration? 2 minutes says pass. 3. Keep it as it is. It's just perfect. 3 it is. So now you have to fight over who asked the first question. Wendy's already got her hand up. Oh.
Thanks, Ian. I don't know, is this like insider baseball or something? Anyway, oh no.
Right.
So here's my question. Also, thanks everybody for running. That's
Yeah.
it's nice to see contested races. So Vermont is a Dillon rural state. How do you see that hindering and helping your work on the select board?
What is that?
Dillon. Oh, so a Dillon state.
A what?
So some
Dillon.
Dillon state is, but I'll explain. So in the United States, there's 2 sort of systems for municipal governance. Vermont and I think Virginia or maybe West Virginia are the only states that are Dillon states. Every other state is a home rule state. What that means is in Vermont, a municipal entity like a select board or board of trustees can only pass laws that are specifically allowed encoded in state statute. In a home rule state, a select board can make a law, an ordinance, a bylaw, whatever, as long as it doesn't conflict with state statute. So we are Dillon's rule, which is more restricted. So now that you know, because this comes up in things like the local auction tax, ways that a town can raise money, if it's not specifically mentioned in state statute that this is how you could tax and what for, you can't just make a new tax. So that's one example where that comes up. So, yeah, sorry that I started with like such a hard question. I know there's a lot.
One at a time, huh?
I guess. Yeah, do I have a 3-minute rule?
Can we do one question at a time, Liz?
Yeah, no, one question at a time.
The question is, now that you know what Dylan rule is, how do you see that both hindering and helping your work on the select?
You're the incumbent.
Yeah, I have a go at this one. This is something that does come up. It came up last year. We had a lot of controversy when one of our select people, Elijah, wanted to have the pride flag flown on municipal poles. Came up right there because the state of Vermont has actual rules concerning what you can put on your flagpole. So we went back and forth and round and round. It was pretty controversial there for a while. We wound up coming up with a policy mirroring pretty much what Montpelier has in their town. And everybody kind of just quieted down about it. Didn't really feel that it was resolved very well. We're probably going to have an issue with it coming up here soon because this is a little complicated, but I'll try to make it brief. We have 5 cemeteries in the town of Rockingham, and there are Vermont statutes that are very clear and pretty detailed about what the town's responsibilities are concerning upkeep and so forth in each of those cemeteries. We have been following those rules. And we also have a weird thing. When you buy a grave, you also put $200 for each grave into what they call perpetual care, which is kind of ludicrous in today's age, that $200 is going to care for this gravestone and this grave plot forever. Not too likely. But anyway, that's what's in the state statute. And money has been going into that for over 100 years. And it recently came to light that there's almost $800,000 sitting in this perpetual care fund that's never really been tapped. What can we do with it? Well, being a Dillon state, we have to look at the statutes, and we're still not sure. We're still trying to figure that out. I'm the select person liaison to the cemetery committee, and if I'm not elected, somebody else is going to have to step in and deal with that.
Wow.
Which won't break my heart, by the way.
You just got elected.
So that's how it works. You never really know when you're going to bump into it. You know when that's going to come up, but it is significant, and it does tie our hands, and it also makes us spend a lot of money on legal advice. Because we went through a couple $1,000, I think, trying to figure out how to deal with the issue of the flag. And every time we have to turn to our lawyer, it's thousands of dollars and thousands of dollars. And we're pretty much there, I think, with the cemetery issue. As far as I can figure out, we need legal advice, telling us what we can do, what we can spend that money on, and so forth and so on. Because we could easily spend all of it in the blink of an eye.
Okay.
So that's my answer to that.
Thanks, Bonnie. That was great. Does anyone else want to address that question specifically?
I just want to say, it's the first time I heard of the Dillon law statute. The Dillon statute, right? Rule.
The Dillon rule.
Well, I think it should be abolished. I think it's what I know about it right now. Okay,
That's a different forum, just to
I
be
think
clear.
it's silly. And I think the town should have their rights to do whatever they want in that respect. That would be my opinion at this point.
Talk to your governor.
I'll talk to my representatives, because they're the ones that represent us, right? They have to bring that to the, but anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I also like that New England, sorry, Delilah. I also like that New England, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You come up against it, then you have to research, go to the statutes, figure out. But it seems to me we've got plenty on our plates without worrying about something that comes up from time to time. I have to say, I love that cemetery committee. I think they are really doing a great job. And, that's the kind of thing you uncover. That's the atmosphere we work in. I don't want to spend a lot of time worrying about the Dillon Law. I'd rather just move on and see where we are. So it's a very erudite question, Wendy, and I appreciate that, but I don't know. Let's focus on what's in front of us.
Yeah, I would just say that having worked in New York State, which is considered home rule, one of the projects I worked on there was congestion pricing, and we had to work very closely with the state legislature at the very beginning. They have enacted it since, it has been enacted now, but I was part of the team that helped lay the groundwork to get that going, and there were lots of fits and starts in that, but working with our local politicians and our local delegation to lay the groundwork for that. So it sometimes can be a hindrance, but it sometimes can be a help, because if you're working within current statutes and making sure that you conform with them, you can sometimes get projects started much more quickly.
Yeah, Paul Reese from Bellows Falls. I'm one of those residents who pay a village tax and the town tax. And I spoke to the Attorney General Charity Clark and Bradbrook about my concerns on law enforcement. I feel as a resident, village and town, which we are all town, that our police department has $1,400,000 for 1.3 square miles is a lot of money. And they come up around my neighborhood 3 or 4 times a day. I wave to them. I would like to see what your opinions or views on the possibility of a town-wide police department just changing the sign. They have 7 full-time officers. They have a detective. Let them go out to Saxons River, Rockingham. Eliminate the $6,000 they pay the sheriff department. You open up the engines on the car, let them travel a little bit. Those folks is half the only place that commits crimes. I've lived there my whole life, and there's serious crimes that take place in Saxons River. We had a murder's never been resolved. Gee, I brought that to Charity Clark's concern.
All right, I'm gonna
got no results yet.
I'm just gonna rephrase the question so I think the question is about that right now there's a village police force that's covered by the village taxes, and the idea is, what about a broader Rockingham police
where
force?
everyone pays.
Is that a question does that works for you? You asked the question, that's the question. Does anyone wish to discuss the village versus town policing?
Sure, I could take that on. So I'm a resident of Saxton's River, so I have a similar issue to yours, Paul. We pay a sheriff and have for a number of years to police. It's mostly speeding that's our concern, which I think is rural Rockingham's main concern as well. The way things are working now seems to work because there's such a big focus, there's such a big concentration of population in Bellows Falls, but I'm not running for the Bellows Falls Village. I'm running for the Rockingham Select Board. And I go to what we decide at annual meeting. And we decided at annual meeting that it made sense to pay the sheriff to do a contract for rural Rockingham. I know the sheriff's department is working on a regional pilot, the idea of trying to get beyond just a town-by-town contract, and that's up in the legislature now. I mean, they're having the same problems with funding that everybody is, so I don't know that the pilot will necessarily go anywhere, but it's a good question. I don't see that as a Rockingham priority.
when I was on the Community Development Committee in the Wyndham Regional Commission, and Golub, another commissioner, and I went around to about 8 different towns in the region talking about this kind of issue, you know. Some had police departments, some didn't. How could towns share this? How will that work? How will we pay for it? Some couple towns over in the western side of the region are doing some sharing like that. So this is something that they're trying to address at the regional and state level right now. There's a lot of talk and consideration, trying to come up with plans and some kind of way to make it work and make it equitable. For us right here, dealing with Bellows Falls and Rockingham, Lordy, after what we just went through with the fire departments, as you could see from one of our other candidates, still a lot of bad feelings about all that. It's hard to say. It's a shame Deborah Wright isn't here, but be curious to see what she thought about that, because she had very much, as a previous village president, very much concerned about village issues. I don't know, Paul. I think that's something we're not really ready to tackle right now. I think something needs to happen here, just like something needs to happen in many, many, many other places in Vermont. But I think we kind of have to let the state chew on this issue for a little while.
I'll just say that, Paul, as a resident of the village, same situation as you. But I would just make clear, and I do think it's a larger issue that's outside of the realm of this discussion, but I was supportive of the contract when rural Rockingham came forward to ask for a little bit more coverage, to have that, the sheriff patrol. So that just stating what my position was when that came up at town meeting.
So one of the things I forgot that I was village president 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago, and this issue came up. And so at that time, we looked into having the sheriff's department do everything instead of having a Bellows Falls Police Department. And then we looked at also to keep the Bellows Falls Police Department to cover the whole area. I thought back then it was a good idea, whether or not the sheriff's department or the Bellows Falls Police Department do the whole area, the whole town of Rockingham. It made sense to me then, and it makes sense to me now. But I don't think it's something the select board would have to bring forward. I think the trustees, whoever they are, I know who they are, would have to bring that forward. So if I was elected, I would say, when we have a tri-meeting a tri-meeting, right?
Tri-board.
A tri-board meeting. I say, well, what are your thoughts out? Do you want to look into this? Because I have a home in Rockingham. I would love to have full-time police. Maybe not in Saxon River, but out in Rockingham. And things aren't getting better out there, folks, okay, in that sense. And at least not my opinion. So I think it's something that the select board should look at if the trustees of Saxon River, as well as the trustees of Bellows Falls, want to look at that issue again.
Thanks, Charlie. All right, other questions?
I'm paying for Saxon River. We've just spent, Delilah knows this, and John Dunbar knows this, we just spent 2 years putting together a town plan. It covers chapters from housing to economic development and actual lived resources. My question to the select board is, we have this document, we don't want it sitting on the bookshelf. How is this going to shape the decision-making and how you move forward, knowing that we have this document?
Do you?
Delilah?
Thanks, Guy, for that question. So yes, joining the Planning Commission in 2023, I came in towards the end of the wrapping up of the town plan. It is for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's an aspirational document that lays out in broad areas how we would like to see Rockingham develop, how we would like to see it develop housing, how we would like to see it develop its transportation network, how we would like to see it develop economically. And I would say that to the question of how do we keep it from gathering dust, is that we, being part of the Planning Commission, use it as our foundational document for a lot of the decisions that we make when we're looking at amending the zoning bylaws. And it did inform, we did the town plan first, then we moved on to the zoning bylaws. Part of the recent amendment to the zoning bylaws was to update it, which hadn't been updated from 20 plus years, make it a more understandable document to the layperson who doesn't think about planning every day. I love planning. I was a planning major, but I know everybody doesn't like it. So being able to read it and understand what it means to you if you want to build a home or build a commercial, develop a commercial property, how you can utilize those things and how you can look at the town plan to say, hey, I want to put this over here and I want to make sure that it is in line with the vision that the community has put out there. And that was a community-led initiative that had a lot of input from the public. And so it wasn't just, 7 people in a room thinking about what to do. It had a lot of input to put into it. So I see the town plan as sort of the roadmap to development for us going forward. And it's something that needs to be revisited. It has to be revisited every 5 years under Vermont state law to keep it fresh, to make sure that it's growing and in line with changes, because things don't always stay the same, and you want to make sure that you're moving forward and not losing ground as you grow.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Guy, your question was how, and you spent 10 years, okay, on a town plan, right? That a long time? About 2 years? Oh, it was only 2 years? Right. Oh, so you got it in place. So when you're talking about stuff sitting on a bookshelf collecting dust, how can the select board help and bring that forward? I agree. There's so many things that have been done in the past that are just in the town hall sitting collecting dust. So I believe that, the select board or trustees, they have meetings, right? And they have an agenda. That's the only time they have. And I don't want to be there for 4 hours. So I think that we should have retreats. And that should be one of the things, if elected, I would recommend this. We should have retreats, and that subject should be brought up. How do we utilize that town plan? And how can we bring it forward to people? How can we have growth? Because we've got a town plan now that's supposed to be not so restrictive, right? I mean, that's what I understand. And I have some things that I would like to amend already to the town plan. So, because I looked at it, and I have my own personal reasons why I would like to amend stuff. But is that the kind of answer you want?
Yeah, I want to know, now that we have this document, how is this going to shape how you as individuals move forward decision making? Plan the genders.
Okay, fine, you want to take?
Yeah, I guess you have to understand how the plan works, right? The plan is aspirational, and it is for guidance. And the town plan informs the zoning. I came to understand all this back in 2016 when I led another group I was president of, I forgot about. It's Rockingham for Progress. And they wanted to put a detention center down next to the Riverfront Park. And boy, I just tore my hair out for months trying to figure out what in the world can you do to prevent this, because they said you can't prevent it. It's in the zoning, but you can. And the zoning is informed by the town plan. And as Delilah said, once a new plan has been adopted, then they go back and look at all the zoning. Is this zoning in keeping with the aspirations and guidance in the updated plan? And then from that point forward, when things come up, when somebody has a project that they want to do, how does it fit in to the zoning and the plan? And that's the way it works. The select board doesn't really have the authority to just conjure up projects and say, hey, let's do this. We're kind of more responsive, I think, you know. Something comes up, something needs to be decided, somebody's got a complaint, and we have to address it. It works more like that. The select board doesn't have the authority to sit and conjure up big plans. In Deb Wright's statement, she said, we won't do solar projects. That's just not true. The first thing that I got involved in when I was first on the board was leasing a used-up gravel pit in Rockingham, out off of Route 103, to a solar company. Now, that was kind of combative. There was a lot of controversy about it. Some people didn't want to do that. We said, look at the town plan. We're supposed to be doing this. This is what we're supposed to be doing. And so we did, you know, so that's more how it works. I've been fussing and screaming and pouting for years, so long before I got involved in actual politics, about condominiums. I think that could really, really help with the housing crisis tremendously, especially in Bellows Falls, where much of the housing stock is gargantuan houses that hardly anybody can even afford to heat anymore. And I've been pushing it and pushing it. I pushed it when I was on the Planning Commission. I pushed it on the Windmill Regional. I've pushed it at the Select Board, and I have pretty much gotten nowhere. So, and I pushed it with Becca Bailey when she was our representative at the State House. So that's how an idea moves from being an idea or a concern that somebody or a group has. You just keep pushing it here, push it there, bring it up, get people to discuss it and talk about it.
Thanks.
And that's how you do it.
Thanks, fine. Amy, do you want to take that?
Just briefly, I was there for the presentation of the plans. You know, you had a hearing, maybe several hearings, but I haven't absorbed it by any means. I have a feeling that if elected, all of us new people are going to have a lengthy homework process where we try to come up to speed with the tools we need to make good decisions. So that's a promise, if you like. But I also think that gatherings like this, town meetings, select board meetings, those are good times to remind us that we have these responsibilities.
Andrew?
Yeah, I thank you, Ian. I'm Andrew Snett from Bellows Falls. And I have two questions. I'll be very brief. The first one is, looking around the room, I see if we took an average or a mean of the ages, all of the attendance, it points to a need to get more young residents of towns of Rockingham Free villages involved, and I'd like to know your thoughts on actions that might be taken. I don't have suggestions. I can read that to you. The second question is more serious, not sort of as important, and that is regarding ICE or customs and border protection enforcement activity in our community. If you have any policies and practices regarding the town and its involvement or its resistance to that activity. Let's see.
So I do want to, I think we should only have one question. And I appreciate you asking both. So I can suggest that you try to wrap those into
on
one.
the first question, and that'd be your question. Maybe they'll give you a second chance to ask that border thing. Where youth is concerned, I agree. I mean, without a doubt. This is where the chamber can come in effective, the Chamber of Commerce. We have a board member, hopefully now, that works at the high school. And her job basically is, it used to be funded by a grant, but now it's being funded by the taxpayers, which I agree that this position should be funded. To bring these young people, the teenagers that are up at the high school from the other areas of our Union High School, to introduce them to ways they could be of help and get involved and to whatever. If they want to be involved in government, that's great. They want to be whatever they may be involved in, but they needed an organizer. Same like 60 hours for a kid to graduate that they have to do volunteer work. They never had a coordinator for that. So I don't know how they got their hours, but this is where the schools, I don't think, are doing quite as much as they should be doing, especially for their community, and where we're paying the taxes for those schools. So that is, I agree with that completely. And wherever we could do, if elected, as a select person, if I can have other ideas and bring them forward, I would do that.
Thanks, Charlie. So you're right. And the question is basically how to get young people more involved in taking part in town government activities and committees and stuff like that. Delilah?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. Things that you can do to get more young people involved. For one thing, one track that I can say, I don't think I have an answer to all of it, is doing more social media, meeting them where they are, whether it be a TikTok or a YouTube, something that can go into those channels that is informative about the processes that the town is doing, and doing it on a regular basis so that it's creating our own content with information that we have that we could put out there about our meetings, about our issues. And again, exactly how to do it, I'm not a creative person that way, but working with people who are to develop that content, I think would be a good first step. Another step that the Planning Commission has taken, if you're not aware, is that we have had student members of the Planning Commission. We don't have one currently, but we have a position that is outlined that we've shared with the high school so that any interested student can take part in it. And we have had in the past, and we have an alum who has now become a permanent member of the Planning Commission upon his graduation, who's here today. And I think it's great because you get fresh perspectives, different perspectives, and it's a really good thing to do.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, I was on the Planning Commission when we first started that, and that's been a really good program. I'd like to see if we could do something similar with the elected board, the select board. I'm not sure how that would work. Planning commissioners are appointed, so it's okay, we're going to appoint a high school kid. You're going to elect, do we want to have an elected high school person? I don't know. I mean, that gets into, it might even get you into Dillon's rule for all I know. So it's kind of hard. But this is a problem with every organization I've ever been in. It's a problem with the state as a whole. Where you look at almost anything, you go almost anywhere, almost everybody's old. That's really true. So I don't know. I think Delilah's ideas are good. We started a new town newsletter, and that's helpful. It's not really promoted well. The town website is still in like limbo land, but that's a step in the right direction. I guess having the boards, the select boards and the trustees of the two villages do more public facing things, but then you run into the open meeting law, and when Charlie talks about a retreat, well, that won't work because we've got open meeting laws, and that's Dillon's rule again. Yeah, so, it's complicated. It's, open meeting law says that no more than 2 select people can sit together and have coffee, ever. Otherwise, you need to inform the public of that meeting 2 weeks in advance or something like that. So this is something we have to tiptoe around all the time. So I think Andrew's question is a really valid one, and it's something for everybody to think about in every scope of life here in Vermont.
Amy.
So briefly, I think Wonder Bar did a great job of promoting Bellows Falls as the kind of place you want to visit, dine in, and maybe move to. And they're gone, and I'm sorry to see them go, but I thought that was fascinating. The other thing that I heard recently was Tony James saying that when he graduated from high school, there were a whole bunch of students at that time who went right into the fire department. It was like the thing you did, like, you play baseball on a Saturday night, you all joined the fire department. I don't know if there's a way to incentivize that, but I was really happy when the new municipal fire department began to hear that 2 younger people from Saxton's River, they're younger than 30, I don't know how old they are, but they both joined the new municipal fire department. And I thought, yes. So I think it's going to be piecemeal things. I don't think there's going to be any miraculous. I know back on the school board, we used to talk about how can we make people have more babies. I don't think that's going to happen.
Where's an answer?
But making this the kind of community you want to live in is the way we keep working on that.
Steve?
Steve Proctor, Bellows Falls. Since Andrew's second question was disallowed, room forward, and asking, I guess, in terms of thinking about the balance of power between our town and the federal government. If the federal government, through ICE or some other agency, comes to town and threatens our residents, what's an appropriate way for the town government to respond? How to put thoughts on that? So.
I have a couple.
Same here.
So I know the legislature is working on this. They've got a couple. You were there at the meeting with the 4 legislators yesterday. So identification, no masking unless it's to prevent frostbite. So at that level, I think things are happening. I also remember Rockingham Help and Helpers during COVID. It was a volunteer group. We did things like getting large quantities of food to the Waypoint Center and then distributing it to people that couldn't get out and get around. And I think that's what was happening in Minneapolis. If you knew of a family that didn't want to come out of their house, you made sure that there was a food drop-off or that they got some respite. Or somebody brought them the stuff they needed from the drugstore. And I think Vermont's good at that. That's our neighborly attitude. We like to look out for each other.
Delia?
I would just say, Steve, that also, as in past positions, as Bonnie mentioned, with the flag policy, and before that, the select board signed on to a DEI position statement, that having those conversations and making sure, again, that those conversations are public and consider all viewpoints, but taking a formal position and having it laid out so that should circumstances continue to worsen, that there is something that can be pointed to, and hopefully it doesn't come up against Dylan's rule. If the state's already taking a position, we can craft something that's in line with that position to formally state our position. And I would just say, personally, abolish ICE.
Yeah, well, that was a good question you started with about Dylan's rule, because it comes up all the time, actually. And it would come up in this situation, too. I think, though, about the only thing the board could do is make a statement. a statement of intention and a statement of belief. And that'd probably be about all we could really do. But like Amy said, the community can do lots of things.
Charlie, you want to?
I have no comment.
No comment. All right, I think we do have time for one more question, but I'm going to go with Chuck because he hasn't.
It's a quick meeting. It's not
Good, because we don't have all the time in the world.
going to fuck up the process. So, me and Peppers and LA for bullshit. Yeah, it's been confusing for me for years and years and years with the select board, the board of trustees, the Rockingham School Board, the WNCD board. You have people pay a lot of taxes for all these businesses. I have one question for you right now. Which board oversees the 4 nation department heads, fire, police, town, highway, and I forgot the fourth one. Oh, town hall. Town hall manager's office.
Rockingham.
Select board.
Select board? So if I have to choose.
No, that's not right. That's not right. That's not
Oh,
right.
Sound Police, right. Bellows Falls Police.
Bellows Falls Police, yes. Bellows Falls Police, Bellows Falls Fire, you reckon?
No. Rockingham Municipal Fire and Rescue.
Confusing. Okay.
It just changed.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
This is interesting. I wish you could say, don't expect much from the state. They're about air follicle leak in school or food inspection and scared pot. There's going to be a lot of people around the state that are going to be up in arms about death, and that's probably polite. I hope that I'm doing that soon, but well. But anyway, so the select board has the control over overseeing the department heads of these departments, or just the trustees, or you share it.
If this is your guy. Yeah.
Right.
I'm in the village, yeah.
So you're in the village, so you have a separate annual meeting in May for village issues. This is the Rockingham report that reports on Rockingham control. So if you want to go through them again, highway is Rockingham, municipal fire and rescue, one new department officially started November 1st. That's Rockingham. Police is Bellows Falls. What was your fourth one?
Highway.
Yeah, town, well, what would you say for town manager reports to both boards, Bellows Falls and Rockingham?
I can probably help sort this out a little bit. Bellows Falls Village handles the water and sewer department. They used to handle the fire department, and they handle their police department. With the consolidation, the fire department is now townwide Rockingham Fire Department. Bellows Falls, and what your taxes, your village taxes, go towards the sewer and the police.
Well, that's a separate. The water and sewer is separate. It's totally separate. You're paying that separate. It's still through the trustees, right?
The village handles the water and sewer, and you get a bill for that, and the police. Everything else pretty much is Rockingham. The town of Rockingham does all the streets, the sidewalks, and the highways, all that stuff. And now the town of Rockingham is doing the fire department for the whole town. So that's how it breaks down. The village has its own ordinances, which pretty much tie in with the town's ordinances. In places where there is a difference, the town has authority over the villages. So that's kind of how it works. I know it seems confusing, but really it's just everything but the sewer and the water, the police is the town.
Delilah, do you want to?
And to speak to your question, Chuck, I think it's questions like that are, they're easy to, maybe not easy for all of us to answer on the fly in this room, but easy enough for it to be mapped out and maybe put in the front of that annual report so that everybody knows exactly that there's a diagram that shows who's doing what, when, where, why, and that we can always open that book and point to it and understand it. And that would just be an easy first thing to do.
Good idea. And on the website too, that's
Yeah.
probably something that ought to be addressed right on the homepage of the town website.
Either that, we could just consolidate everything.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. If we really want to have
That's tomorrow's.
really want to get out the knives and the pitchforks and have a battle for the rest of my life.
Oh, John.
I just wanted to clarify one, you asked about the townhouses or town manager. If we're hiring a town manager, that was also be paying a portion for that town manager. Rockingham would be paying a portion. So there are things that are also split. Yes.
So the question is who's actually overseeing these department heads? The town manager.
Who reports to the two boards?
Right, who's overseen by the select board and the village trustees. So. Well, and I think, I think we're basically at the end of time. And it just occurs to me a thing that's probably worth mentioning, given the context of all this, is that, these folks are all running for the select board. The election is a week from Tuesday, if I have my calendar right. Yep. And then whoever constitutes that select board after that time will have meetings pretty much every other week, except for maybe July, 1 week in July or something. And those are open meetings. As Bonnie was saying, it's all public meeting stuff. And so you can go to them anytime you want. And if you ask a question, and it turns out you're at the select board meeting, and it's a trustee question, my guess is the select board's very quickly going to say, guess what? There's a village trustee meeting next week, and you should go ask that question there. So I think it's a good kind of incentive to get more, spend more time talking to people. And,
People should attend the town meeting.
people should attend town meeting and
vote on
the library budget. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And remember to come in to vote. Now, you can get an absentee ballot at town clerk's office. You can fill it out there, or you could drop it in downstairs and that ballot outside. Or you can bring it to the polls if you're kind of thinking about it somewhere.
Yeah, a week from yesterday. I mean, next Saturday is town meeting at 2:00. It's the school board first, and then
At the polls, and we'll be happy to see all when you come in. Most of you are.
And just a point of clarification, because it always comes up, you cannot get an absentee ballot for town meeting. You must be present to vote for town meeting. The absentee ballot is for the ballot.
The obstruction ballot.
That's right.
on the Tuesday following.
And let's clarify, it is at the Opera House on that Saturday.
It's not at the middle school. It's at the Opera House at 2:00 on Saturday, February 28th. And then the polls are open, I think, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. the following Tuesday for anything that's being voted by ballot, Australian ballot, on that day.
I'd just like to say that everyone up there are public servants, and we're going to be public servants. And I think we extend to you our incredible gratitude in what you're doing. In the past, that has not been seen as public service. And I think we need to keep that.
This is a topic for that remark, you think?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't an aspect of this that isn't generous, the time and the effort and collecting the signatures and, being willing to serve. I mean, it's a really nice thing that people are. What's that? I'm right in this thing. Anyway, what I should say is thank you all for coming out to the library this afternoon. It seemed like a good, hearty discussion, and everybody seemed to have a chance to say all the things that they wanted to say. So I think that is what we're looking for. And if you know where to find all these people, I will say, since it came up earlier, I think I have a phone number for Bill Crowther, who left, and so he wanted people to have access to it. And if anyone wants access to it, I believe it's right here somewhere. And other than that, thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys again soon. Oh, Will, I'm sorry.